Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Master Random, the podcast. This episode is brought to you by Dimension Systems. They are Guam's premier computer and IT consulting company, creating solutions with technologies. You're looking to upstart and upgrade your new or existing business. Guess what? Dimension Systems got those solutions for you, whether it's system integration, web design, or networking. They can provide all the answers to all the questions that you have when you're seeking growth, productivity, and improvement. And that's just literally the surface level. Run my hand across the water and you dig your hand deeper and it goes much deeper of the services that they can provide for you as the customer. Go check them out for more information at dimensionsystems.com or visit their Guam office at the DFS Plaza in Tamuning, or give them a call at 646-2007 Dimension Systems, providing and creating those solutions with technology. This episode is also brought to you by Stroll Guam. Go download the Stroll Guam app today. I've been using it a shitload lately, especially over the holidays, and super convenient, super affordable, and one of the safest ways to get around the island. You don't have to use your car. You use someone else's car. Someone else drives for you. We haven't really gotten the hang or the thought of someone else riding in someone else's car here on Guam, because maybe Guam's so small or we're so used to taking our own vehicles. But I think the mindset is evolving on ride sharing, and Stroll Guam is the first and the premier ride sharing app here on Guam. It's available in both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So wherever you're listening to this at, go to your app store now and search Stroll Guam, and right there, download it. Why not? And then when you do, use the code word RANDOM19, RANDOM 1919, and get $10 off your first ride. Easy as that. And it literally, it's not even that expensive to get from, let's say, Agana to Tamuning, about $8, to Agana to Tumon, about $15. Not too bad, right? So go for it. strollguam.com. Visit them today, right now. And now my next guest on the show is John Bermudes. He's an artist, entrepreneur, freelancer, digital designer, graphic designer. He's everything under the sun. This guy is really talented. He's even a musician, a sax player. Extremely talented guy. He's back on island after going digital nomad for a little bit, and so we touch on that. The last time he's been on the show was a couple years, talking about his graphic design, talking about what it took for him to take the steps and what made him take the steps to explore becoming a digital nomad. He's back on island for the next year or so. We'll see what how that goes for him, and I hope you enjoy this conversation with my friend John Bermudes on the podcast Master Random. Check it out, everyone. You're good. But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, it's been a while. We were just discussing before my crazy dog mate here. Call her a dog mate because she's only temporary. I tried running out here and jumping on me, but I got dog hair all over my shirt here. Didn't even dust it off. But welcome to the show. It's been 2 years, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you've been extremely busy.
Yeah, I've been
but busy in a good way, productive busy, right? As far as moving off island.
Correct.
Right? Okay, let's sort of backtrack from the last time you were here, so around 2016, and we saw each other a few times here and there, and then you dipped.
Yeah, what happened was a good friend of mine, Doug Chan, he was going to school at Boston University, and he needed a roommate, and he kind of hit me up because he knows that I've been freelancing for a few years, and with freelancing, it gives you a lot of freedom. So he was like, "Hey, are you tied to anything on island right now?" And I said, "Well, family's here, but they'll always be here." And he's like, "Well, do you want to come to Boston?" Kind of jokingly, but I was like, "Yeah, why not?" At this point in time, I had actually tested out traveling and working from an internet connection. I spent 2016 doing a lot of traveling. I went to the Philippines and Hawaii.
But short-term travel? Short-term.
Well, there was, I actually went on tour with the John Dank Show.
That's right.
For almost 2 months.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was working, and I kind of told myself that there were people already doing what's called digital nomading, or, being digital nomads.
Right. I actually, I went to Thailand and I met a couple.
Yes.
And did I ever tell you about this? I wonder if I brought them up. Well, the guy is a marketing dude out of New York, and he decided to go nomadic. And I think right now they're traveling like in Northern Europe. And I met them, and I just met them randomly at a bar.
Yeah.
And they own this thing called the Robe Lives. I'm gonna plug this real quick. Like the Robe Lives, it's a killer product just because it's handmade from different like fabrics in Zimbabwe, and every robe that is sold goes to this organization. Like proceeds go to this organization called the Cup, and it provides a young teen or a young girl with the necessary woman toiletries, the Cup, feminine products. There you go.
So it's called Robe Lives.
Yeah, the Robe Lives. I have a couple robes, and they came out with a new one, a new drop season of robes, and it's really nice. The fabric's really nice, and the designs of the fabrics, and they're all handmade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that digital nomad stuff is really, really killer. Why did you decide to even like test it out?
Well, I've been kind of doing a ton of research on it. I think I was working at an ad agency for a few years, and I was picking up more and more clients, like sideline stuff, like on the weekends and, moonlighting. And it got to a point where I was actually making more money from the sideline stuff than from my main job. So it started making less and less sense to work, because I was getting something like triple the hourly from doing freelance stuff versus having my 9 to 5. And so that first year was really scary because I had no idea what I was doing. I knew how to do the design work because I need to clarify. I'm a freelance creative director, art director, basically a graphic designer who knows how to market. But that kind of happened over years. When I first started, I was just a graphic designer, and I knew how to create identities and how to make campaigns and, do a lot of the creative like copy work.
Right.
Like the guy who writes out the campaigns and writes the budget for stuff and advises on how to spend for campaigns. Like I was really good at that side of it and at the design side of it. So, or at least I thought I was at the time. But what I did for the last couple of years is I like really dug in and really tried to learn from the best people in the world. I mean, just like literally like emailing them, and a lot of them, like they would email me back and say, hey, I already have courses available on like Skillshare or lynda.com. Or even sometimes in their own page, they have like
of how to be a digital nomad.
Oh no, this is for design work specifically.
Okay.
So, I mean, I had a really good basis from working in the ad agency I was at, and but I just wanted to learn more. Like, I feel that in a lot of ways Guam is great because you end up wearing a lot of hats as a graphic designer. Like you end up doing sometimes the copywriting and sometimes even like the motion, like animation, and
You're just all in one.
yeah, and it's really like
One-stop shop.
yeah, but that's like everywhere else in the world, you have people who specialize specifically in those things.
Right.
So what ends up happening is you have someone with a lot of general knowledge, but there's not a whole lot of people that dive super deeply into a specific category.
Right.
So I decided I really wanted to dive deep into identity design, which is most people think of it like as logo design. I mean, that's what most people think of in general when you say you're a graphic designer. But
Right.
what it is kind of like that's kind of like the main feature of an identity designer. Okay, so and that's one that people see the most. So I understand why people, when they say, "Oh, you design logos," it's like I do, but it's part of what I do. So an identity design is someone who sits down and talks to a client and says, "Okay, well, most of the time you work on people's dreams. It's like, okay, this is your dream. What do you want to communicate?" And a lot of times they start off with just like visual cues, and that's good if you're a graphic designer. But if you are trying to consult with someone like a small business or a startup,
Right.
you really want to dig deep and see what they're going for, because sometimes they'll give you a visual cue because they think it relates to what they want to do, but it's not at the meat of what they really want to do. Just to give you an example, or just, kind of a random example, is like someone who comes to you and insists that, "Oh, I really want my logo to be a red moon."
Right.
And you're like, "Oh," and then you just do it, but you don't understand why.
Right. And we went through it,
Yeah.
right? And it was like it was actually tough. Like being on the other side, it was actually like really tough to like know what you want and try to express it, right? Because maybe you can find yourself like, I don't know, man. If for me it was difficult to was it purvey? Fuck, I'm trying to use words again that I don't even know. Matt, you got to stop me here.
Well,
yeah, it's and and it's like a lot of back and forth. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of. I think that a majority of the work comes from just talking to a client. And for example, like with you, it's kind of like with what a lot of people have difficulty with, which is, okay, I have this thing I really love to do, whether it's a business or a dream project they have.
Right.
And they want to identify it some way. And, it's like the logo is, aside from the name of the company or the venture itself, the logo is the second most, viewed thing. And so, like, I always tell people, it's like, it's very important, that it's done right. And so what that really boils down to is defining what it is what your business does, or, and in some cases it's like, well, what is your dream? Because a lot of people who are doing businesses, for the most part, like, I feel that most of my clients, when they come to me for a logo, it's like something that they've either always wanted to do or something that is outside their 9 to 5 that they're really passionate about.
Right. Is it hard to go out and like market yourself as a graphic designer? Like, what is the market like here? Because it seems like it's a growing thing, right?
Correct.
People, whether it's media design or whatever, doing just media in general, everybody's doing it. It's so available and it's so easy to do that I can't even imagine being maybe even like a videographer and being like, all right, you want to try my workout? And but on the same token, it's more like profile building, right?
Right. It's like, when you think of a brand, like you think of iconic things like McDonald's Golden Arches and Apple's Apple logo and the Nike swoosh. A lot of times, like, people think about these things, but they don't realize the millions and sometimes billions of dollars that go behind creating, the identity for a company.
Right.
So what happens a lot, your original question was, how's the market, right?
Yeah.
I think
here on Guam, at least.
On Guam, it's kind of booming, but the thing is the amount of work that goes up, like there's more people have talked about how, design work is seen on more screens than ever.
Yeah.
So therefore there's so much work, but also the barrier for entry is almost nil now. Like any kid can jump on a program and within, a month,
Right. Crash course it.
yeah, and they could, say that they're a bona fide, professional graphic designer because
Right.
someone paid them on Fiverr, $5 to do something. And like people ask me a lot, like, hey, like with these designers that are working on Fiverr, do you ever feel that the that your work is being cheapened because of the people who are in this like lower bracket of pricing? And I generally kind of don't really feel any of it, because I think that what most of the time when people come to me, it's because they see my work and they're referred to me by other people who've worked with me, and also
a lot of word of mouth.
A lot of word of mouth.
The old traditional Guam way.
Guam way, word of mouth.
Right.
But also, like, I always like let them know that, like, I mean, it's like a mechanic, right? Like, if you have a problem with your car, most people won't take it to an expensive mechanic. They'll go to a friend, and they'll find a guy who's, pretty economic for what they want to do. But I always talk to my clients and say, okay, well, right now, to me, it's like, especially if you're a company, it's kind of like if you're a taxi driver and you have a car and it's broke down and you need someone to fix it. I mean, if it's like really important to you, if it's like vital to your existence, like a taxi cab is, then would you take it to an amateur mechanic or would you take it to a legitimate professional, And I mean, that's the difference. I mean, sure, there's a lot of work being done for really cheap, but you really do pay for what you get. And there's a lot of liability to using like the bottom end of the, basically the cheaper designers. You're really going to pay for what you're going to get, because you need a lot of experience to mitigate the amount of risk you're going to have for your clients. A really good example I can think of is, like, if you're going to print packaging and you're going to print 100,000, I have a client right now in Shanghai right now. He's getting 100,000 things printed. And so I'm creating something for him. And, I was talking to him about it, and I caught an error on the vendor side. So with packaging, a lot of times, like, you send your design over to another company, and sometimes they will do things for production reasons. And so I caught something that was off. And so that one mistake would have cost them like 30 grand to reprint it.
Changing like like when they put it on the product.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to make it fit a certain dimension, something moves.
Yeah. Or sometimes they don't give you they'll give you a die cut and they'll change it. And like, I've had this happen where they give you a die cut, but they realize that they need to adjust something. And so
So you're your own QA guy.
A lot of times
for the client, especially if you're just one aspect of their entire thing of what they want to do, such as creating design for them to print on a mass scale, you're going to have to perform like a third party QA.
Sometimes
right?
you do. In this case, he just got lucky because
first party, second party.
He just like he like sent it over to me, and he was like, "Hey, can I get a second eye on this?" And I'm like, "Oh man, this like one thing is really off."
Yeah.
I can't really get into specifics because then I'll kind of like reveal the client, but
who it is. Yeah, it's okay, dude. There's billions of people in China alone, so
yeah.
I doubt I can guess that.
But there's specifically something wrong with his logo. They used the wrong Pantone for it, and luckily,
what's a Pantone exactly?
It's kind of like a
oh gosh.
Okay, so when you see color on a screen
that
versus
smells good. Sorry, Tommy's Pizza.
Oh, that does smell.
Yes, it just rolled in the door. Okay, go ahead. Before I got distracted there.
Okay, the print design nerds are really gonna get me if I get something wrong in this, but Pantone is like it's like a color management system. So what you've heard of Pantone books, right? Or swatches?
Yeah, and it's like different tones of different colors and color palettes, like that. Yeah.
So back in the day, or even now, because I still do this, you would take a Pantone and you would use it to specify exactly which color, because like it's kind of like a system that's really well known, and like, so your printer will take the Pantone and make sure they're using the proper thing. Nowadays they just match. They just do like a process match, like a CMYK, match. But I find that with Pantone, it's like they specifically look at the actual color on the book and try to match it so it's more accurate.
Right.
But yeah, anyways, so there was something wrong with the color.
That takes some serious patience.
Oh yeah. And so I was thinking about this, like, because I get asked this all the time, like, oh, I can just, get some guy in Fiverr do it. It's like, okay, cool. You could do that, but they're not going to catch something that a seasoned designer would, like, for instance, like a Pantone mistake on a, 100,000 piece thing that's about to go to print. Like I caught that, and luckily, a good designer will save you money, which is what I did for. And it's always like, okay, I can get this done the wrong way for $5 and get it redone over and over for $5, or I could go to a guy who's going to do it the right way the first time and also save you a lot of headache.
Do you work with a lot of other vendors and like directly with other vendors and then have a client? It's like you're subcontracted by an actual vendor, or how does that work?
That rarely works. What I normally do is I suggest a printer, especially locally.
Right.
Because I always get asked, oh, I need a t-shirt printer. Where should I go? I need a offset printer. Where should I go? And I have people I'm really comfortable working with that I have no problem suggesting. I'm not going to do it right now though, because
no, you don't have to. I'm just wondering.
I don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Right. Do you have an easier time getting local clients, or is being on sort of the world scale and being on Fiverr and all these freelance websites easier to be on and do?
Oh,
not at all.
Well,
I wouldn't.
I'm not on Fiverr at all. I actually think it's a good place for really beginners to start.
Yeah. But like freelance in general, do you put yourself out there on that scale?
Oh, okay.
Where, I mean, you're working with someone from Shanghai, right? So.
I'm just online. My website is ladroncreative.com.
That's how they found it.
That's how they find me, I guess.
Yeah.
I do work with primarily local clients, but I do have some work a little bit everywhere. Like I have one client in Shanghai, like I said, two clients in Boston. I would say about 8 or 9 here locally.
Yeah.
And this is not like constant. This is like, they're still my client, but they don't always, need work. It's not like consistently coming in.
Right.
I have one in Turkey.
It's just easier to take him by the pieces then.
Yeah, it's like project by project.
Right. But how do you, so like going back to how we got there was the digital nomad. So how does it help, how do I say this? Looking, let me think about this. Okay, so being a digital nomad, taking things by piecewise and sort of like taking it as a go, how does that support you better than just a regular 9 to 5 or salary based job? It seems like a lot more stress. I mean, entrepreneurship is not a stress-free thing, but
I would say that it's a different kind of stress from a 9 to 5. I mean, it's if you're a person who can adapt to change rapidly, then it's really for you. Like if you like the challenge of having to adapt in different places.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing when the first day after you quit your job and you're like, all right, this is it. This is the first day of digital nomad employment. Employed myself. You're hired.
Well, I could say that I wasn't a digital nomad completely per se but I moved to Boston, and I hadn't at that point. I was like 3 years in, just doing my own work, not working for anyone. And so when I was in Boston, the question was, I'm sorry, what was the original question? How difficult was it?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like a whole lot more work having multiple hats and being this single entity of running a business and trying to stay on top of like keeping contracts coming in, right? And having consistency. I mean, I know it's probably not consistent, not consistent, right?
It's called feast and famine.
feast and famine.
It's really true. Okay, so to give you an example, there's some months where I'm just like I'm rolling in the money, and it's like it's really good.
Right.
And there's some months where it's like when I was in Boston, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a pot of spaghetti and this is my food for a week, I mean, I'm actually not exaggerating like that. There's some weeks that were really like that. Where
For sure, I can imagine. I mean, because it's not a consistent paycheck, and you're depending on you.
Right.
Nobody else. I mean, unless you're like in a joint venture business with somebody, but being a graphic designer, freelance entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
slash, dude, that's got to be like mentally exhausting.
It is. It's like there's two like great highs in it. There's like the feeling of like being completely stressed beyond, and freaking out a little bit.
Right.
There's a little bit of that, and then there's moments when it's like I'm gonna go to the beach right now, or I'm gonna go fly to Cuba for a week. That's what I did, a few months ago. And so there's like ultimate freedom, but that's like, I think like 80% of the time there's this feeling of freedom. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
And then there's 20% of the time where you're like, holy cow, how am I going to, pay for this or that? Especially when you're doing like, I spent a few months doing like a true digital nomad, which is like you're always traveling. You don't have a set address, so
like mail me at the postcard.
Yeah.
Or don't mail me. Email me.
So when my lease was up in Boston, like my friend Doug found a job in San Francisco. Doug Chan, what's up?
Yeah. What's up,
and
Dougie?
so he flew to San Fran. This was around the same time that you were.
I was out there.
Yeah, you were in New England for your sister.
Yeah, yeah.
She was going to college, and so during this whole time, it's like we were supposed to get a new apartment and live in Boston, but then he ended up moving to the West Coast, and so he was like, "Do you want to come to San Fran?" And it's like,
you, John.
It's like, man, I don't know, because like I'm scared with the in Boston the rent's really high, but then San Fran the rent's
It's
like
really high.
really high.
Yeah. The poverty line in San Fran is 120K. Yeah, right. Sure. I'm not. There's no way.
Okay.
You're crazy if you're living out there, and
So
yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. You are fucking out of your mind.
yeah, it's one of those places where you need to get a job before you move there. And
Right. Something secure and not trying to find something. Unless you're that guy who went viral.
Yeah.
And you put his resume on his sign.
Yeah.
And people were able to take resumes and stuff, and then he went viral on Twitter, and he ended up getting like multiple job offers. But dude, it doesn't even matter if like you're a doctor or a lawyer. It's like maybe those are the careers that aren't making the most money.
Yeah,
At least in
real.
that area, right? Maybe the lawyers.
But he's so he found a really good job, and I was happy for him, but I was like, man, I don't want to go there and not be able to contribute, because we were supposed to get a place together, and it's like I didn't really. I only had like about a month to find a job, and I was doing interviews in Boston too, so it was kind of unclear whether I'd get work out there, in the interim, so I was kind of unsure, and I really wanted to come home for a little bit, so I was just like, let me just try really doing the digital nomad thing for a few months. Oh, and gosh, I don't think I've explained what digital nomad, what it is.
I mean, if you don't know what a digital nomad is, Google it. Google that shit.
They like to call it a location independent lifestyle, which is like
basically you're just
wherever you want and work from wherever you want, and you just work online and
So
travel.
were you Airbnb-ing a lot, or staying in motels, bed and breakfast? I'm sure you try to stay in the cheapest possible places, right?
Pretty much Airbnb everywhere. I did a month and a half in Mexico when I first moved, because I was really worried about making ends meet, because I was just like really, uh, it was a famine time when I was moving. So I was like, okay, what do I do? I was like, okay, go to like the coolest, cheapest place I could go. So I was like,
So it wasn't even like a set thing for you. Like, all right, I have enough money to go somewhere. You just kind of like, all right, Doug's splitting.
yeah.
I'm splitting too, I guess.
It's like, and he was like, you should. His advice was you should just make your way west. Just digital nomad so you can come out west. And I was like, I could, but I mean, I've already seen like 49 of the 50 states.
Holy shit!
I've ridden.
That's pretty good.
And I've ridden cross country from North Carolina to California, maybe 3 or 4 times when I was a kid in the back of a my parents' station wagon.
It's got to be like 30 hours, 40 hours.
Oh man, like it was a couple days. Like back in those
40,
times.
like driving. I'm sure it
Yeah.
was like 3, 4, 5 days. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the people who decided to go west on horseback and carriage, like
Oregon Trail,
Oregon Trail style? Like
you've died of dysentery.
oh my gosh, I can't even imagine being someone who's just like, all right, well, I don't know what's over there, but I'm just gonna go and see what happens. Surely they died.
I think
Surely.
probably the same amount of spirit, or same kind of spirit as the digital nomads of current day probably are the same type of people that would have done the Oregon Trail back in the day, because I've, like honestly, it's for the most part really adventurous. I've, come across a bunch of people who have like the most like awesome stories, and a lot of those stories, while you're going through them are scary. It's always like later on, it sounds like a pretty awesome story, but at the time you're just like, oh man, like this is not cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went down to Mexico and I met a bunch of people down there out of Bunker Co-working. Shout outs to Bunker Co-working. Work with a couple of the Mexicans down there. There are a lot of programmers. A lot of programmers do digital nomad stuff. And so I was in Playa del Carmen. I was going to go to Cancun, but it just felt more of like a bigger city. And I kind of wanted to find somewhere a little bit more laid back, So I heard a lot of good things about PDC, Playa del Carmen. And I wanted to see like the ruins. They have like Mayan ruins close by to PDC. And the nomad community is pretty big there, So I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And I expected to stay for like 4 weeks, but then I really, really liked it. So I ended up staying almost 7 weeks. And then, I mean, it was difficult. I know that there are a lot of people who think that when you go and you do this, that you're always on vacation, that it's a non-stop vacation. It's not really true. It's like, it's a lot of work in unfamiliar environments. So you're trying to adapt to working on the road essentially. And I found a place that I was really comfortable working. So I was fortunate. And I didn't know this about myself, but I really, really love Mexican food. Like I didn't know that about myself until
you've never had Mexican food ever?
Well, I had Mexican food in America, which I argue now isn't really Mexican food. It's like, it's kind of like when you photocopy something and then it's been photocopied about 20 times. And then like, you're basically getting like the 30th photocopy of the actual.
It's like grainy Mexican food.
It's like, honestly, it's like FDA approved Mexican food. Because I found that like the cheaper the tacos were, like the more good they were.
Yeah.
Which is really strange, right?
Yeah. I've been to Puerto Penasco.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
it was more like rugged small city, and then right on the beach there's like hotels, skyrise hotels, 30 floors, like literally. You're driving through like a tent area where you can rent mopeds and whatever. And right when you turn on the beach, it's hotels. But yeah, we had tacos too. And dude, oh my gosh. Yeah, really, really good.
My good friend that I met there, his name's David Leal. David, he was like taking me, he's like, okay, I'm going to take you to like, like the real stuff, like the real, people he's from Mexico City, but he moved to Playa for the same reasons that I did, because he wanted to do the digital nomad thing, and he wanted to get out there. And David's actually a really talented programmer. He does work for people in the States because his English is like, he's pretty much fluent. He would argue he's not, but he's pretty much fluent. And so he's like, I don't know what this place is called. I just call them highway tacos because it's like under like a highway ramp.
Right.
And it was pretty like you guys think that the I don't know. It's kind of like I'm trying to find a way to describe this without insulting people. But yeah, it's really salt of the earth. Really weird.
I'm trying to figure out what you were trying to say not to insult people now.
But yeah, it's
Shit.
it's on the
You got me all fucked up, John.
it's okay. It's like legit, like making $100.
It sounds like it comes right out of the kitchen home.
Yeah. It's like in the like the lower income bracket.
Right. Like
But
the shanty towns or the impoverished places.
Yeah. But man, I swear that's where the best food is. Like everywhere. Like when I was in Mexico, there's like places that are like $10 dinners, $20 dinners, which is like,
well, because it's not so saturated with trying to impress tourists, right? Right. The closer you get to any city center in any place, the food changes.
Right.
And then as soon as you drive out of the city and you're like in a small town, you're like, holy shit, like this is the real shit. Okay.
It's where the market really decides like the food.
Yeah, I think even like American food is, like your diners,
right?
Like the diners that you find in the small towns. It's like, wow, okay, this is real American food. Greasy, fried, sugary, right?
Have you been to Long Island?
No.
My friend lives in Long Island, and there are these like they're like look like those really metallic diners.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you walk into those air streamers or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But in Long Island, they're still really popular. So
I think in the whole Northeast, it might be really popular, because even in New Hampshire, we ate at one of those. It was literally like a big Airstream, and they gutted the Airstream.
Yeah.
Or Airstream, Streamliner, Airstreamer, whatever.
I don't know trailers, man.
Yeah. I think it's you know what I'm talking about. You got it.
Airstream, like with the metallic finish.
Yeah, and it's like rounded on the outside.
Yeah,
confirm that for us, Matt. Airstream or Streamliner?
I think Airstream.
Airstream.
They might be competing brands. But yeah, so yeah, true American food.
Yeah, let us know when you figure that out. Yeah. I mean, I think that goes for all different kinds of cultures, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we don't really notice it in Japan because we think Japanese food is good. But I'm sure if you go out into the town and you go into that small Japanese restaurant where the old lady's the one that's giving you the she's the hostess and the cook and the waitress.
But don't do it. It'll spoil Japanese food for you. Just like Mexico spoiled, Mexican food everywhere else in the world for me. And
you can't go to any ones here, right? You're like,
I sound like
I don't want to name some.
I don't want to be like a huge snob because
What's it called? Yeah, go for it. What is it?
The Airstreamer.
Airstreamer.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Yep. So the
RV like.
Yeah. It's almost like there's some that you can hitch, but there's like really big ones. See what the diner ones are called. The ones that they convert into diners and stuff like that. But yeah, food. Yeah.
I mean, there's always this danger in like searching for the true, authentic type of food, but I think the simple answer to that is like, you go for food that's made by, the people, and it's really unadorned, and really like, it's got to feel like a recipe, like an older recipe. Like, I know that maybe the challenge for Mexican food is that like they're trying to replicate the ingredients from Mexico, and it's like you can't really,
Right.
There's certain things that they do that's just different.
Yeah, and it's not Mexican beef. The way the beef is grown too, right?
Yeah. And the big like the cheese, Oaxacan cheese. is for me was a game changer, and I got to stop thinking about
Guac and cheese.
Yeah, Oaxacan and cheese. Man.
Chorizo con queso. There were some good ones. We weren't too far. I didn't live too far from the Mexican border, so we had sort of some pretty legit Mexican food in Tucson. I think they're about 45 minutes. I think San Diego has some pretty legit ones outside. I mean, more towards the like Chula area.
Yeah.
But as you get towards the middle, it's like if Filiberto's is it's kind of washed out.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be differences because there's some things they can't bring over.
Yeah. What is it called? Did you get it?
It's an Airstream.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Not to sound like I sound like a complete taco snob.
Oh, dude, I mean, I feel you. I mean, that's just. I think a lot of people can agree too.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to like chamorro food, right? Like you eat chamorro food elsewhere in the world. Yeah.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
I always agree with Chris Barnett, right? He always says that people try to take chamorro food and like make it fancy, but it really needs to be simple. I agree. Like to me, like the most delicious chamorro food is simple,
Yeah, but also you need to remember that there's also on the culinary level, right?
Oh yeah.
You want chamorro food to be able to be palatable on that level.
Right.
Yes, of course it's palatable because it's so good and salty and high in cholesterol and stuff like that. But I think I cannot agree with that. Just because just like any food, I mean, you would want to see it on a certain level, and for people to take it to those heights, to sort of challenge the norm, right? And say, okay, I'm gonna make chicken Calaguin, but a little different from what, or present it a little different. But anyways, yeah.
I mean, I certainly understand that.
Sorry, Chris, I have to disagree with that.
I mean, okay, there are people that are trying to elevate chamorro food, and I really applaud them for that. I think for me, my personal preference is just that it's just a personal preference thing, like the favorite food that I eat is comfort food, and maybe it's just from my personal experience, maybe my grandparents weren't like the best chefs in the world, but it's really like most stuff that you can get are like the rosary or the dead, like the corn soup and vegetable soup and
the long rice soup. I think that's Matt's favorite.
But yeah, I mean, the simple stuff is what I really love. But I understand, the want to, if you come from a culinary background, what do they say? If you're a carpenter, everything looks like a nail. Like, or if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So if you're coming at it from like, you've had this, you've been trained by the best people in the world, the best schools in the world, then you're going to try to bring a little bit into your own culture. And I love that. I love that about our people. But if you're talking about like what I want to eat, I don't mind the sandwich that you get from the mom and pop store, at 7 a.m, like simple egg sandwich with corn soup. I love that,
There's a chicken Calaguin wrap that's going around, and it's really, really good. I've been running into some bland chicken Calaguin wraps at the store, and there's one that's going around that's like maybe like 3-4 inches long, and it's like pretty fat. And dude, just the I like the chicken Calaguin really like lemony. Has that little like you can it's been like soaking. You know what I mean, Matt? It's like it's not too sour, but it still has that sort of twang, letting you know that it's chicken Calaguin. And you eat it too early in the morning, you get just a little stomach ache. Like, hold on, bro, I gotta go to the bathroom, bro.
You gotta take a 15-minute smoke break, even though you don't smoke.
Yeah. I'm just gonna sit outside.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I'm spoiled because like the chicken Calaguin I like to eat, my dad he doesn't like to use the grinder because he doesn't like the cartilage, so he like hand chops everything. I don't know like what the process is for other people because I've actually only seen him make it.
Yeah, the way that I've seen my grandma do it is and I'm sure this is
And,
Matt's way too.
Yeah.
Half cook the chicken, right, on the barbecue grill.
Mhm.
You half cook the chicken on the barbecue grill, and then you bring it in. Then you
Oven?
chop it.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. Then you chop it. If someone's in the back, comes doing the coconut,
Yeah.
green onions, right? And it's like fat chunks. It's not like shreds of
Yeah.
chicken.
Yeah.
It's like the fat chunk.
Everybody's cutting.
I'm the guy. I'm the clumsy guy. That's my role.
Matt, can you make some chicken caligan, bro, and bring it here one
Yeah,
day?
man.
I want some Jordan style chicken caligan.
I was on Amazon and I saw this like toolkit for opening coconuts, and it's like a 9-piece kit. I was like, what?
What? It's like something
It's
someone
like,
in the States made.
yeah, it's like on Amazon or something.
Man,
But it,
do us a favor. Search that for Amazon.
and
I
it,
want to see this 9-piece coconut odor.
okay, so my process is I get like a pickaxe,
Mhm.
use that for husking, and then
Yeah, or
Get
the
it.
sharp rebar.
yeah, a sharp rebar. I don't like that because you have to like physically like stab it.
Yeah, dude.
But-
So we had this like high school competitions, like Chamorro Week, and they have the
Yeah.
guys lined up, and then it's like a relay.
Yeah.
And dude, this one kid, like, it was the spike, right?
Yeah.
In the brick, and then the spike, and then they locked it in, and he like puts it on, and then
Yeah.
he jumps on it, and we're like, no! Everyone's like, no, don't do that, don't do that. Yeah, dude. Anyways, good.
So, yeah.
Just
so,
pull the mic closer to you.
okay, so
You can pull it. I mean, if you're gonna lean back, just go ahead and pull it back. It's fine.
so pickaxe, hammer actually, but you use like the turn it sideways when you're trying to open it,
Yeah.
and then clumsy. That's all you need.
Yeah.
But yeah, this
What did this 9-piece set entail? Did you find it?
Yeah. Is it like a gift basket or something?
Is it?
It's a coconut scent.
No, not
No?
coconut scent. It's like a. Is
coconut
it like
opening toolkit.
Oh, coconut.
It's like a 9 or 10-piece set.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like you need like 3 things, at the most.
Yeah, at the most. At the most. And the machete, the back of a machete, right?
Yeah, back machete or hammer.
And a bowl
Yeah.
under you to catch the water.
But I
I think we went off. off
yeah,
the tracks there.
kind of derailed.
Yeah, we derailed. It's okay. You don't have to find it if you can't find it, or get it if you can't find it. I'm pretty sure it involves a mallet and some kind of screwdriver thing.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, he's looking at it. Isn't it? It looks like a.
Oh shit!
Honestly,
That's right.
it's like a S&M kit to me.
Yeah. What is it? What does it have there?
Well, honestly, this one's a 3-piece
Oh,
opener. There's a mallet, like you said. Then you got the grater.
the scraper.
Yep.
That's to get it into the noodle like.
Yep.
And maybe that other piece is to punch it into the hole.
Oh, that's just for grinding though.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
There's a full-on like husking kit that has like 12 pieces. I've seen a dude I've seen a dude open it with his teeth.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, dude.
That guy's nuts.
Yeah, can you search that and put it on the screen? That would be awesome to watch right now. Yeah, dude. Yeah, the whole coconut process is insane. Just the fact that it's so useful, right? It's possibly the most useful tree on the planet. You can literally use it for everything. And here we go, Mr.
It's probably how we got.
husking with this damn teeth. How do you not rip your teeth out? I can barely eat ice cream without like doing this with my mouth.
Okay, let's see.
Where we at here?
Oh, there he is.
What's his name? Where's he from? Is he from Indonesia? Anything like that?
Matic.
Polynesian culture, chief Samoan with his teeth. I think there's one from the Philippines too.
Do you want to watch this?
Yeah, no, just watch this one. Anyone. I'm pretty sure isn't only one guy. Oh God. Polynesian Cultural Center.
I'm going to show you how to husk the coconut really quick using the chopstick. I'm going to show you how to do it with my teeth. All kinds of ways to open.
Look at that
coconut.
jaw.
You need a can opener.
That jaw is
Open
huge.
teeth and the
You
stick.
better be able to open
Check
up
it out, wait.
coconuts.
There, that's right.
Oh yeah, that's how you do it,
Fast as
dude. That guy's using wood. No, go
Like-
ahead. Let's watch this.
Ironwood.
Yeah, let's do it with the teeth. Wanna cut that?
want to see him crack it with his forehead
Here's
after
the
that.
coconut.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
We gotta try this.
I
After.
like the music in the background too. Good lord.
This guy chews pugo.
I can't even husk a pugo with my mouth.
Dude, I can't even husk a pugo with my mouth either.
Look this way.
Wow. Impressive. I wonder if he has to floss after that. No, he's pretty big guy.
All right.
Be a scary guy.
You can cut a piece of that. Cut the coconut. You use a knife if you want to. Smaller as this, maybe
Back
bigger than
end
this.
of
But use,
Chetty.
don't use the very sharp edge of it. It might go right through. If you're not experienced, the back of the knife, make sure it doesn't bounce to your face or your
I think
ears,
all
your mouth.
islanders do it the same.
Make sure you have
Yeah.
The single
face of the
pick.
coconut right there.
And
2 eyes, a mouth, and nose right here.
yeah.
And you cut right across the line between the eyes.
Boom, boom.
Very simple.
That's it, uncle.
Right there. See that? This is for you at home. You don't have to
Minimal
worry about
water spill too. Look at that.
it. All right? Do it
Solid.
again.
It's got a good
You want some?
technique.
Yes, please. It'll be
Thank
funny
you.
if he doesn't like
You'll have
coconuts,
milk
right?
next episode.
It's like he's like
Don't
super allergic to coconut. You can pull it down. It'll be super hilarious if he was just like, "No, yeah, I don't eat coconut. I never tried it.
Just husk it.
Just husk it."
I wonder if we took. I wonder how many kids growing up on Guam wouldn't know how to do this. You know.
I think a lot of maybe kids born after 2000.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'd give the 90s kids a chance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. Okay, so
How did we get there? How did we get to coconuts?
I don't know.
And food, culinary stuff. How you are now ruined, sir. You are now ruined from all other foods.
Yeah, Mexican food. You know, when I went, I didn't really like it. You know, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go down there.
Definitely wasn't your first choice.
Nah, man, I love Japanese food. I love Chamorro food. I love American food, but now Mexican food's like pretty high up there. Like I really like it. But not to sound too snobbish, but yeah, it's like I can't eat it anywhere. It doesn't feel the same, you know,
Yeah.
or it doesn't taste the same.
I'll still jam Taco Bell, honestly.
Oh yeah, but it's like that's specific though. That's like a specific like
That's not even Mexican food.
yeah.
That's American food right
yeah,
there.
yeah. To me, you know,
Yeah.
not to knock it. I just I had a craving for it, but it's a different craving. It's not like it's like man, I want Mexican food. Then I go to Taco Bell. It's more like I want Taco Bell. So
Right.
I go to
right.
Taco Bell. Okay.
Yeah, so Mexico, and you stayed there for around 7 weeks. And were you staying in like your own place, or was it a hotel? Was it some like an Airbnb where you rent a room from someone? I've done that before. I did that in Boston, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again.
Where you
Philly wasn't too bad.
You
but
stay in someone's house?
yeah, I stayed in someone's house, and dude had a roommate. It was
Yeah.
me and my lady, and yeah, it was the first experience was really weird. The Philly experience was decent because we got along with the couple,
Mhm.
and we would like drink wine at night and stuff like that. So how did you go about your living situation? This is your first like stab at it. You're going through famine, and now you need the basic necessities, right? Food, shelter, and clothes.
Yeah. So I went down to Mexico for the first 4 weeks. It was pretty good. I liked the place I was staying. Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, you're good.
The place I was staying was really nice. It was an Argentinian neighborhood, which was pretty cool. There was like, honestly, there are people going by my apartment on bikes and stuff. And they're like the most like fit, good looking people in the world. And it's like, man, like Mexico's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to my friend David about it, and he's like, oh yeah, that's where all the Argentinians are. And it's like beautiful girls all up in that neighborhood. And so I was like, man, I think I'm going to stay another few weeks, not just for that, but just because I was like really enjoying my time there more than I thought I was going to. And then so from there, I did this thing where like I take a sketchbook with me and I draw landscapes on location. So I did a couple of drawings in Playa and some in Tulum. That's where the Mayan ruins are. It's about an hour south of Playa. And so I did that, and I was like, okay, well, what's next? And I've always wanted to go to Cuba. I don't know why. It always seemed like this place where if you were an American, it was like, you weren't supposed to go there. It was like taboo, So I was like, okay. I wanted to go when Obama kind of made things a little bit more easy to go.
Right.
So, I was worried that, okay, well, like with this administration, maybe they'll, close down the border. And so I was like, okay, I need to go while I still can, and also while it's still Cuban, because eventually there's going to be, more and more tourists coming in. It's going to change
because it's opened up.
Yeah, because it's opened up to Americans, which is really going to change it.
Right.
But yeah, I went and I made the mistake of going to the really touristy area. Like that was honestly, if I could.
Havana?
I went to Havana, but Havana Viejo specifically is very, 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 the street I was on is like the main tourist strip.
So it's more expensive?
It's more expensive, but also, you get a lot of people trying to hustle, like not in a bad way, but they're just trying to make a living.
Right.
On my street in particular, it's like every single block, And I was thinking,
hey, buddy, you like watches?
Exactly. But what I didn't know, was that there's a huge like Mexican tourist market there. So I thought it would be an advantage, blending in. Like all the Cubans thought I was Mexican when I went, and that's cool. But at the same time, because I look Mexican, I look like I speak Spanish. So
right.
I went from having like
I don't even know what you look like, honestly.
Or they thought I was Chino, which is like Chinese.
Okay.
But yeah, so when I went there, rather than getting only the English speaking Geniteros, which is like hustlers, I get everybody,
right,
and everyone trying to hustle and like in Spanish.
Papi!
Which, it was cool like the first couple of days, but then after a while, it's exhausting, like.
It's bad I don't know any Spanish. It would have sounded way better.
I would just also say, no thanks, because on top of being Hispanic looking, I'm also a minimalist, which is like a bad combination if you're a tourist, because a minimalist, like we don't really buy stuff. So it's like we don't really buy stuff very often. So like when people go or they visit countries, they buy souvenirs and stuff. But as a minimalist, like I don't really buy stuff. I send postcards, and I eat the food, but I don't really buy stuff. It's like I have this rule that I could only buy what I could carry,
Right.
Like when I left Boston, I left with 2 bags, both that I could carry on. So everything I owned was in these 2 bags. Like if I couldn't carry it, then I wouldn't own it. That was my rule. So I'm traveling the world, with these 2 bags, like, and it's everything I own in the world, at that point, and it was really challenging because it's like, I'm really sentimental. So it's like,
yeah.
So the solution,
and especially coming from a Guam culture,
yeah.
You hold on to shit, even though you don't really need it.
Yeah. But
I think that new Netflix show, that lady needs to come to Guam.
Marie Kondo.
Yeah.
I watch it, but my perspective now is like it's weird. It's like I see all the stuff that people need to organize. It's like, that's not me, man. Like, like it's really like when I came home, like my parents were like, when I was living with them, they're like, oh, we have a bed for you. And I was like, oh man, like I really just want a futon,
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, like it was weird when I was in Boston. I was like, I started to give away more and more of my stuff. And so now that I have stuff, I feel uncomfortable because it's just like, when you own a lot of things, like I noticed that there's a lot of like, there's not a lot of space. Like it's hard to describe to someone, like as a minimalist, like I own like less than 100 things, right? So, when I'm in a place where like I have more stuff, it feels like I need to keep track of it. Whereas if you're a minimalist,
that makes sense.
Like if you were to ask me, like,
I don't live a minimalist life. I got all kinds of stuff, but it's like,
yeah. I mean, it's no judgment, dude. Like I really,
no, for sure. I mean, I get it though.
Yeah.
It's like you don't find attachment anymore. You've sort of detached yourself. It seems like you have to train yourself, because we don't grow up that way, especially as kids that grow up here, possibly anywhere. I think it's just an American thing, just to keep hold on to stuff. Some of the biggest hoarders in the world are in America, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, in America, the average person owns over 300,000 things.
Damn.
You know,
I don't think I own that much stuff.
and I'm down to like under 100. You know,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I'm slowly explaining this more and more to my family because they don't understand. Like when they ask me what I want for Christmas, I say, oh, you know, I don't really want anything.
Yeah.
You know, or I'll suggest like digital subscriptions or digital books, or you know, maybe like socks.
Yeah.
Honestly, which is weird to ask for Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one, it's not for everyone, and I understand. Like, I'm not here to like try to convert people to it, but I will say that since I've done it, I have so much time and room in my head for things I really love. You know, like it created.
So you feel like you have to make space in your head for these things in particular, for things that you own?
Not necessarily that, but it's more like there's like a weird weight attached to it. Like,
Right.
like when someone asked me, oh, where is, let me think of an item. They'll be like, oh, where, do you have a chapstick? You know, it's a good example. And it's like, I own one chapstick, and I know exactly where it is, all the time.
Right.
Or I own one, I own, 6 pens, and I know exactly where it's really comforting knowing where everything is. Like if you need to find something, you know exactly where it is.
I get you. I mean, I have a utility drawer,
Right.
and I have no idea what the hell is in that dang
Yeah.
utility drawer. And I was looking through it the other day, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Why do I have this? And so, it sort of makes sense. And it's something that maybe people would want to do.
Yeah.
But it's possibly one of the hardest things to do.
Oh yeah.
Sounds easy. The only other person I met who lived that minimalist life was Joan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to her a lot about it because she's even gone vegan too, which is like, to me, is something that I couldn't do. So
Yeah, listen to the last episode she was on.
Yeah,
Joan
yeah.
Awa. She talks about her whole minimalist life.
Yeah.
Made me want to be minimalist. Like, start giving shit away. Like, yeah, I don't need that shit. But it's so hard. It's extremely difficult, dude.
I think one thing that was really game changing for me, because I'm by nature very, very sentimental. Like I have like letters from my niece when she was like 2 or 3 years old, and she's like 15 now. So it's like I have them, but I just like scan everything or I like take photos, because to me what matters is the memory, not the actual thing. And also,
Interesting. That's very interesting.
yeah. So you want something tangible to hold on to because it feels nice, but I think that like
The feeling it gives you when you look at it or read it.
I think to me that's more important than having the actual thing, because honestly, like if I could preserve things digitally for the most part, I will get rid of it. For 2 reasons. One, sometimes they're things that other people could use, but also secondly, just because, like you want to be able to control the amount of like, there's a scene in Fight Club where the Tyler Durden character is talking to himself, spoiler alert, but he's saying, he says, the things you own end up ending you. And that's always kind of like resonated with me, because I did feel at the time that for years I felt like, okay, like you have a closet full of stuff and you want to either donate it or sell it. And it's stuff that maybe isn't worthless enough to just give away, but it's also not something that gives you joy per se. It just takes up space.
You just Marie Kondo'd.
It's Marie Kondo, but that's been popularized by
That's it.
a few other.
Spark joy.
Gotta give a shout out to Leo Babauta, because he's actually a pretty big player.
I've been really wanting to meet him and talk.
You should get him on the show.
I know he does his own podcast too, right?
Yeah, it's mostly about minimalism too.
Yeah.
I always email him.
He's a Zen
Habits.
Zen Habits, right?
I've emailed him so much, but
so if you're happening to listen to this, Leo,
yeah, man,
come on my show, man. You're more than welcome to.
Yeah. So, I bring up minimalism because it goes hand in hand with, trying to travel and work. Because you really do need to minimize the things you bring with you, because it's like not physically possible.
Right.
And I made it a rule, I'm not going to check anything in. The real big like thing that was tough for me was that I actually ended up mailing home my sacks. For me, that's tough because I really love to play it.
Right.
but I realized that there's some things I need to repair on it, and it wasn't something I needed on the daily. So when I kind of mailed it off, I kind of like felt really sad, but it's like, it's okay, you know, I'll see it soon, you know. But it really was like, I realized that I'm never going to get rid of that because I really need it.
Yeah.
But again, I think I could carry my 2 bags and my sacks, like if I need to go places.
Right.
But it was mostly a security thing. I didn't want to be in Cuba, you know, with my saxophone, you know, traveling with it, because, you know, the Cuban customs are kind of notorious for just kind of like finding valuable things and
Stealing your shit.
disappearing. Yeah, I didn't want to say that specifically, but yeah, things disappear, you know. I was just talking
Such a nice guy, John.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine, Alan. He was my Airbnb host, now a friend of mine, and he was talking about like how specifically people from Miami, because a lot of them are Cubans, they try to send stuff back, you know, to Cuba. But he was saying that like 1 out of 3 like will just go missing. So if you want to send something, sometimes you have to keep sending the same thing over and over till like, you know, till
they actually get it.
Till they actually get it. Yeah. So he's saying that the problem with because there's his house, there was a couple of guests, and those guests were from different parts of the world, and they were talking about like. So
you lived like in a small commune, right?
No, like an apartment complex.
Okay, so everyone had their own space.
Yeah, so it was my host was Alan, and I lived in the apartment next to his, and then there were like 3 other apartments, and honestly, the people who.
That's actually not a bad idea. You own an apartment complex.
Yeah,
and then you just Airbnb the whole complex.
Yeah, they're called Casa Particulars.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But they're somehow tied to the. I don't know how like the Cuban government does it, but just the fact that they're on Airbnb is kind of a miracle, because they're notoriously like insular in like, you know, information about Cuba itself. So to have their stuff online is kind of like a very not unimaginable, but very like, to me, is like a super new development. Like, because in Cuba it's like the internet's very limited. Like like there's only certain parts of the country where you can use it, you know. Like you end up having to go to public parks, you know, and the state-owned Cuban phone company will give you a list of sites you can go to, but honestly only half of them worked. And the only ones that do work, there's like a lot of people there, because it's like, when I was in Havana specifically, there's one park that I went to, and then I'm super friendly to like, for some reason, like when I guess I look like jovial or friendly. So, people will come and talk to me, and I guess I kind of got in with, there are a lot of like homeless people that like sleep in these Wi-Fi parks, and they started to like, you know, really get to know me, and there was one particular person there who would always try to hit me up for like money and stuff, and so when I tried to do work at the internet park, you know, with my laptop and stuff, she would come up to me and, you know, like, and talk to me and like try to get me to give her money and stuff, and it was okay, but it was very distracting from the work I was trying to do there. So.
It wasn't scary that you were in a place where homeless bothering you. It was more distracting.
It was more distracting.
It couldn't work.
Well, here's a like popular misconception.
I like that mindset, man.
It's actually a very, very safe place, because there's cops like everywhere, especially if you're a tourist, and so they will bother you. In Cuba, it's actually illegal to panhandle and beg.
Okay.
It's like, if you're Cuban, you can't do that. Like, especially the tourists, like it's really, really frowned upon. So, like they would try to do it in a very in a very indirect way. Yeah. And therefore it's more like time consuming. Yeah. Because they ask you, oh, do you want to go eat somewhere? And they're trying to convince you to go to this place, you know? Yeah. And what happens is you go to a restaurant and they overcharge you and the person gets a kickback, you know? So a lot of times when I'd go to this park, I'd, you know, have females specifically come up to me and be like, take me to dinner or take me to lunch. And it's like, oh, no, I'm okay. No, thank you, though. Thank you. And then if I would just try to like pay them off to, you know, go away so I could work, they would never take it, because they can't be seen taking money. Right. You know? It's like illegal to do that. So it's a very like roundabout way to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And you go and ask for money, but then when you give them, like, nah, let's go over there.
They're like, let's go on a date, you know, or let's go on a date to eat somewhere. And then,
I see.
And then you'll go there and there's like no menus, because they're going to charge you whatever they want, you know? and it's a very common scam, you know. So I already know about it, and you know what I've done for in those instances is like I'll agree and go, and then I'll just give them some money, you know, away from the cops and stuff, and I'll be like, here, you know, like please, you know, just like if you see me, just let me work, you know, and we're friends, you know, and we're cool, but you know, here's
You got a very interesting way of going about things, man.
well, you got to understand too is that like with Cubans, like the average income is for the average Cuban is like $20 a month.
Okay.
So even just giving them like $2 is like you know like a couple of days worth of work.
Right.
You know?
Is that considered third world when you have regions that are only a couple months?
I think. Yeah, I mean
a couple months. Make less than a certain if the people make a certain amount of money per week or per month. And that's like $5 a week, man. You know?
Yeah, they make like $5 a week. So even I remember I gave the lady there that was really, you know, cool.
People complain about minimum wage here.
Yeah.
People making $5 a week over there.
Yeah. And it's like legit. You give them $5 and it's like you basically fed them for like a week, you know?
Yeah.
And so to me, the only reason why it wasn't really a huge problem, but it started to become a problem because I brought less money than I thought I only needed, you know, a certain amount, but then I was starting to run out because
it was going all to those people.
No, because I was spending it on internet because you pay by the hour, you know, to
I
use
see.
it. And I was getting more work than I thought I was going to get, which is like, it's awesome because as soon as I leave Cuba, then it's like I'll have this windfall. But while I was in the country, I can't pull any money out. So it's like, okay, I'm running out of money. And like the last 2 days, I actually ran out of money.
Oh.
So I was like, you know, like scrounging for like bananas. It's like, okay, I'm an island boy, you know, I can find food in this environment, so I'll be cool. So I'm like looking for like coconuts and bananas and stuff.
Oh,
and then
shit,
so like,
dude, that sounds horrible.
it was, but it's also kind of like I felt like I was like on like Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, I always equate traveling alone or solo is a very growing process.
For sure.
Because you're figuring out what you're capable of. I mean, you mentioned when you went to Mexico, you kind of found out that you like Mexican food.
Right.
And that works in a variety of ways of growth and what you know you're capable of and the thresholds that you're able to like cross to keep yourself afloat and like having to make critical decisions for yourself.
Yeah. So the thing with the end of the Cuba trip was I had read somewhere that you could take I was in a beach resort town called Varadero.
Okay.
And you go online and they say, oh, you can take the bus to the airport. But what they don't tell you is that the bus stop is like 2 miles from the airport. So you got to like lug all your stuff for like 2 miles.
Yeah, good thing you only had 2 things.
Yeah. But the thing was, it's like, okay, well, how do I pay for a taxi to go, you know, to the airport? And my Airbnb host is like, oh, it's like $30, something like that. It's like, dude, that's like all the money I have. So,
right.
So basically it's like, okay, only money I have left is to get to the airport. So I need to, like, these next 2 days. It was actually kind of nice because it was like, it was really nice. It was actually like, I was going to the beach a lot, looking for bananas and coconuts, and actually it wasn't that bad, you know.
So you're eating like free food, yeah.
Free food, and my Airbnb.
John. Woo.
And then, which was crazy because like I had like a lot of money in the bank, but I couldn't get to it because if you're an American in Cuba, you can't. If your bank is affiliated with America at all,
yeah,
like you can't withdraw money in Cuba. Like I tried a couple times and it's like not working. So what I ended up doing was like those 2 days were actually, it wasn't as bad as like I thought it was going to be. It worked out, and some of the people that were staying in the
were you staying in a place at least?
Yeah, staying in a
oh okay,
that was already paid for.
Okay.
But I was just going to the beach.
If you're searching for coconuts and bananas and not staying in a place, oh man, dude.
No, that's too nuts.
Glad you're home right now. Jeez.
But also it was like
you get to eat at someone's house.
And I had to walk a couple miles to go to an internet park, you know? And luckily I still had a couple of cards left over from Havana, but I was there in this beach town, and I was at this park and I'd have to walk there, and just like getting past, you know, like I was walking there and trying to like dodge like horse carriages, like like mopeds and other pedestrians and buses from like the 1950s and cars from the 1950s. And it was like every kind of mode of transportation was like in Cuba. And it was like, it was really, really eye-opening, and just like seeing how people lived out there. And I know that people, when they travel, they do this thing where they talk about the other places, and it's like really, I don't know, like if you've, like, people get tiresome when they talk about stuff like this, but I gotta say that like for me, legit changed my perspective on a lot of things, you know. I felt like I could relate to my dad a lot more, because my dad grew up super poor. You know, he grew up in Agate, and you know, he didn't have much growing up, you know, like he didn't have. I remember he told me that like the only thing he had as a kid was a cool breeze, and for the most part, that's most of the people in Cuba. So I felt that because I was there, I could relate to him a lot more, because we've always been, you know, not well off, but, you know, pretty comfortable, you know,
growing up as kids.
Yeah. So, you know, for the few weeks I was there, I got a little taste of, you know, his childhood a little bit, because I do feel like Cuba is stuck in, it feels like the 1950s and 60s there, you know.
Really?
And so that's like this around the same time my dad grew up, and so I felt like, man, I can, like, maybe some of the same things that he's seeing is very similar to, you know, what he saw as a kid, you know, in Cuba, or what I saw in Cuba is very similar to his upbringing, you know.
Right.
Because, man, it does feel a lot like Guam when you go there, especially when you get out of Havana and you go to the countryside.
Very island life.
Yeah. And then
ranches and stuff like that.
Then yeah, especially on the second part of the trip, I went to like the countryside, and it was very, very, I mean, aside from, you know, scrounging for food, just getting to know the people was super eye opening, you know. Yeah. Like my host was saying, oh, if you need money, you can sell your shoes for like, you know, $30, because people will pay that much for your shoes. And you're talking, that's like a month's worth of salary, you know, people are willing to pay for used Converse, you know. Yeah. And he's saying, no, you should just do it because people will pay that price. And it's like, wow, really? And he's like, yeah, you know, like American goods are very sought after, you know, apparently. But yeah, I mean, I gotta give a, you know, shout out to my host, Alan. He really got me by, you know, he really helped me out when I was there, you know, the last couple of days I was there.
Yeah.
His family, like, they treated me like family. It was really cool.
Right. What did you do to ease yourself mentally? You know, I'm sure it wasn't cherries and, you know, roses and whatever, but it's had to be mentally challenging. What did you do to sort of find balance, to not break down in times when it was rough? When it was rough. And especially you're not in the comfort zone. You're far away from loved ones and people who will definitely take care of you if you weren't in that in the place. If you were in the situation in here, right?
Well, I mean, I think my family's gonna be kind of mad if they ever hear this, because, like, I know I could have, you know, they would have taken care of me, no doubt. But, you know, you get to a point where you want to do it yourself, you know, and I have a really good family. They would have totally, you know, done anything. But I also needed to go through the process of it, you know, because you kind of do, you know, and as also when you get to a certain age, you know, you stop asking for help, you know, when, you know, it's like, it's a man thing, right? Mm-hmm. But it's also, you asked me like how I got through it. Honestly.
Yeah, just mentally, right? Did you meditate? Did you read? What did you do to put your mind at ease when things got tough? I mean, you don't have much.
Honestly, I would just go walk, man. I would go outside, and the reason why is like, not everyone gets to do this kind of thing, you know?
Have time.
Or, you know, not everyone has the freedom to decide that they're going to go, you know, live in Mexico for a month and then go to Cuba for a few weeks, you know? And, I mean, shout out to my clients for supporting me through this and, you know, being really understanding but what it was for me, I never felt too stressed. I just felt really grateful. Like there's so many, I I can't count how many beautiful things I saw on my way, you know? And I guess it's a good way to transition to like, you know, the next place, which was completely different. I ended up I grabbed a flight to Europe. I went to Germany, Munich for like $100 some. It was really cheap, but
Oh, that's pretty cheap.
I just decided, you know, okay, I'm gonna get the cheapest ticket to Europe. And so I went to Germany and I spent a week in Germany, and it was the complete opposite of Cuba, like in every way you can imagine. Germany has one of the highest costs for living, and it's one of the richest countries in the world, you know, and Munich itself is very, very, very capitalist, you know. Like the main city squares are just like full of like, you know, Prada and Louis Vuitton and all the, you know, high-end stuff, you know. It's just
It's like the Gangnam of,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or Roppongi? Is it Roppongi?
Basically
Very
like
affluent.
or like
area.
a rodeo
Right,
thing,
right, yeah.
And so it was actually kind of cool because it's like I went from, you know, I went from Cuba, from a beach town in Cuba, to a very metropolitan area of Germany where there's like lots of castles and stuff. So I was like, I remember there was at some point I had like woken up at like 3 a.m. and I was just like, I really need an Egg McMuffin. Like I just need one like right now. But can you imagine this, like me being at my age and like anyone else in the world with like a family, and this is what I'm talking about, like why I was grateful for the freedom, because, you know, I could do this. Like I could wake up 3 a.m. and decide I was going to go to McDonald's, you know,
Right.
in Germany. And so I couldn't speak the language, but I just kind of Google Maps did and got on the subway, and I ended up, I was like, okay, I'm just going to wander. So I just like wandered around, and I ended up walking to this area of the Marienplatz. Marienplatz is like the main center for Munich.
Okay.
It's like the cultural heart center. Like the square itself is like over 1,000 years old, and there's like several castles in that area.
Oh, like a Ganya. Yeah.
Yeah, like again,
Yeah.
like a Plaza de España.
Right.
So I was there, and I was just like, it was kind of movie. Like there was like, you know, like they're like lovers in their castle, you know,
Yeah.
and there was like, you know, homeless people like sleeping under these like, you know, Renaissance castles and stuff. And it was just like, man, like you were talking to me about like being stressed out, but like it's really the answer to me was just to go outside and like see all this stuff, man. Like
Right. Remember why you're doing it.
yeah. Also remember, and also just like understand that not everyone gets to do this, you know, like there are people. I remember my cousin Jesse he would tell me to just go, you know, like get out there, you know, and he's at a point right now where he can't get out of bed, you know, he's bedridden, and so like really thinking about like his life and versus what I'm able to do, you know, I was just really so grateful, you know, that I could, you know, adventure, you know, and I'm still physically able to walk around, and
Right.
and my friends would ask me, like, because they have a habit of walking around like late at night or early in the morning, and I don't know, I've always felt safe. I don't know, I'm not like the biggest guy in the world, and I'm not scary looking at all. I'm pretty friendly looking, but I've never felt danger. I mean, maybe I'm just naive, but I mean,
It's like a knife flying right behind your head, and you're just walking.
honestly,
Someone tried mugging you, but they got hit by a car. You're just walking.
maybe in Havana, probably felt unsafe maybe one night there, but honestly, I was probably the most scared in maybe Prague or Thailand. Excuse me. Okay, so next I went to Prague, and Prague is like the most beautiful city I've ever been to. Like you hear people say this all the time, and I'd read so many things, but when I went there, I was just like blown away. The first day I was there, I was just like, wow. I could not, like my jaw dropped every time I turned a corner. It's like literally like a really like Disneyland, dude. Like I heard that Disneyland was, a lot of the castles and stuff were inspired by Prague, but it's like, I don't know. You just got to see it. It's like
Eastern Byzantine
mind blowing. Like,
architecture.
yeah. And it was like everywhere you look, you open your eyes and
Right.
just like,
Prague is Eastern Europe.
more central.
More Central Europe.
I think
I wonder if they're part of the.
they're very, I think they're very, sticklers about that. You know, they're Central Europe. So like when you say Eastern, I don't know why. But
Were they part of the Byzantine? Are they east of Turkey? West of Turkey, right? Because Turkey was the borderline of the Byzantine Empire.
I believe they're west. They're west, but I don't know. Sorry, Mr. Weiss. He's my geography teacher from middle school. Like if I messed that up. But yeah, I think they're west. And then, you know, I have
Yeah, see where
one of my clients is in Turkey.
Prague is at.
Shout outs to Fugu Records in Turkey. They're my only European client.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of cool. Like I designed this thing as a personal project, and I just kind of made a brand because I don't know, I'm an identity designer, and you have fun just making brands, like imaginary stuff sometimes.
Right.
And so I made this mark for a friend of mine was like saying that she wished she grew up in like the 80s or 90s because like she, you know, she never got a mixtape, you know. She's kind of too young to ever get a mixtape from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like designed something for her, just, you know, for fun, you know. And then a couple months later, I got a email from a company in Turkey asking me if the logo was for sale, and I was like, not really, but you know, make me an offer, you know. And so they sent me a pretty good offer, and they bought it, and it's like, okay, cool. So I now have a client in Turkey, and once they release some albums and stuff, they're gonna like send me some stuff, and I'm actually really excited that this thing that was imaginary is now a real thing.
A real thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I wasn't. I think I was in. I might have been in Korea at the time. So from the month in Prague was kind of crazy. I met up with a lot of I went to a lot of co-working spaces there and met up with some digital marketers there.
Is that co-working space? Is this something that's sort of growing here on Guam? Is that something that you find common in your travels? I mean, going around and people just wanting to work. Digital nomading is something that's getting really popularized, and there's people who are making extreme money off of being able to do so and be wherever they want to be. I mean, for example, my friends that I met, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, shit, I totally lost exactly what the point of why I brought that up. Oh my goodness, what is going on here?
Edit that.
It's okay. So, we don't edit.
Oh, you're gonna ask me about if it's growing here?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Co-working spaces. There it is. Yeah. Co-working spaces. Like, do you find places where, you know, where it's available like that, or?
So one of my requirements for looking for a flight was one that was cheap. That was the number one, and the second highest thing was that it had a good co-working community.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources for this.
Is it a European thing? Do Europeans like to do so?
Actually, it's mostly Americans that do the co-working.
So it's Americans in these foreign places.
Right.
Okay.
So there are a couple destinations that are really attractive to people if you're trying to do this. Playa del Carmen being a really good one. Bali seems to be number one a lot of times on people's lists. Thailand, like Chiang Mai, is a really popular nomad destination. My requirement is that it needed to be a place with a good community. So Prague is like maybe top 5 consistently. So I went to the community there, but it's pretty much established there already. And so I would walk in, you know, like t-shirt and jeans and stuff. And the places that I would go to, there's like guys in suits and stuff. And so I'd always feel like out of place, even though like I'm a branding guy and I could probably help a lot of the people there, especially the startups and stuff. I always felt like I didn't belong because I was like not business. I didn't own business attire at the time. So it was always like, it was so vastly different from America and Mexico, where, you know, like startup culture is like hoodie and jeans, you know, and t-shirt and tennis shoes.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was just like, man, I want to do this here, but I have the wrong uniform. So I didn't make too many nomad friends there, but it's mostly like I was mostly getting a lot of work at that time. So I didn't really, I didn't really need to drum up any newer business there. It was just more like a grind mode. I did try staying in a hostel for the first time when I was there, though.
Yeah, hostels are interesting.
It was interesting. It was one of the top rated ones because it was right on Old Town Square, which is like, I mean, I ended up going to another really touristy spot, but it got so many good reviews that I needed to try it out, and I actually ended up really liking it. I was surprised. There weren't a whole lot of people in my area. There was like one girl and a couple guys from South America, and they're all really cool. So I ended up having a good time.
Yeah, I stayed in a really good hostel in Hong Kong.
Nice.
It was an international hostel, whole bunch of kids in the community area. So we were there for the Hong Kong Sevens, but in the evenings, people from the rooms would all come down, and there were people from Switzerland, Canada, France, Germany, Finland, and yeah, we were just sitting down and getting extremely drunk with all these people, and one of the most solid places I've ever stayed, because we did that 2 nights in a row where we sit down. Not only were we partying at the rugby tournament, but there was people to hang out with at the end of the night, and it was funny because the second night we hung out, I had lost my voice from the first night, and or from the first night of the tournament that we were there, and I couldn't talk to anybody. It was like awkward too because they were trying to have a conversation with me, like, I'm so sorry, I need to go home. I need to go up to my room. And the worst thing that happened though, we come home from the tournament one of the nights, and dude, all our windows are open, the lights are on, and there's a cigarette butt in the bathroom. Like someone like smoked in the room and realized, oh shit, we're smoking in the room, it smells like cigarettes in here, and they left all the windows open. We walked in, we're like, what the hell? First thing we went to go check was our money and our passports. Yeah. Just to make sure everything was accounted for. Everything else you can take. I don't give a shit.
It was all good though?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It was a really good dorm.
It reminds me.
Hostel.
When I was part of the 2008 Beijing Olympic Orchestra. And I think it was one of the times when we were in Beijing, but we also went down to Shanghai. And actually I saw Rick Boss at the Silk Market. He was there. All the people from Guam are there, and you just like see this, huge guy, and it's like, it's Rick Boss.
Hard to miss.
Yeah, hard to miss. And I saw him there. Then we were there with a bunch of Australians and New Zealanders, and it's probably like the first and last time I partied with Australians. Like, I won't do it again just because it was too much fun. It was just like the next day
it was too much fun.
No, the next day I was just like, what happened? One of those.
I had so much fun. I don't want to hang out with you. I think
no, it's more like I you go a drink too far sometimes.
Right.
But then sometimes when you party with Australians, it's like you go a couple drinks too far, or maybe a few dozen drinks too far. Something like that.
Even here, I was just telling someone the other night, I think it was my girlfriend. I said, there's really only thing to do here on Guam is drink. Like we love alcohol here, right? And my friend asked me what I was doing, and I said I might drink tonight. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm gonna go get me a 30-pack and drink." I was like, "Really, Matt? What are you doing tonight?"
Probably gonna drink.
See, see, and it's funny how when you're on an island, it's sort of like that's the culture, but anywhere you go, that's sort of just the culture. And we're just very social people in that respect, right?
Unless you go to
aggro people,
or aside from like the Middle East, right? Because no one really drinks in the Middle East, right?
Or Indonesia.
Yeah, because it's Muslim.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I'm at a point in my life where I don't smoke or drink or do anything. So I think my excuse is that I did that a lot when I was younger, and so it's kind of out of my system.
How old are you now?
Old.
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah, old. Let's just say I'm young enough to remember life before the internet.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah. For sure. Playing outside. Play rocks. You ever play rocks? Yeah, you do that on an island.
Or you play who can put your hand in the anthill the longest.
Or imaginary dirt bike. You guys know what that is?
Can.
The can in the bike. And you just make your bike sound like a dirt bike. That's all it sounds like. It doesn't even sound like a dirt bike.
Man,
But-
it's weird because like I see kids now and they grow up on like attached to an iPad. It's like, man, when I was your age, I was like doing really reckless, dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
Purposely hanging off the roof and shit.
and now I used to when I was a kid, maybe I was driving maybe 12, 13. But before then, my cousin would drive. Like I would be like 9 years old, and my cousin would be in middle school, and we sneak out in his mom's car, and he had to have been like maybe 12 or 13 at the time.
Yeah, I learned how to drive standard at 12.
Yeah,
I was 8th grade. 12, 13's around 8th grade.
I remember the first
Yeah.
time I got caught doing that. Oh, man, yeah, it was pretty bad, but I think the kids now are a lot safer.
Boo.
I'm happy for that, but at the
Never
same
say
time,
my own name, but boo.
But yeah, man, like kids now have iPads. Me at that age had like stolen cars. not stolen, but borrowed. Thoroughly, heavily borrowed cars from
It
relatives.
was relatives.
Or we do that thing where we would at night we'd get on a 4-wheeler and like hold a flashlight to the side so you look like a car, so that you don't get pulled over. Or,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm alive, but
Yeah, we me and Matt's brother, we had PW50s when we were kids.
PW50.
Yeah, Matt's my cousin. So yeah, his I grew up at his house pretty much, and we had little PW50s, and we were like little 8-year-olds blasting these PW50s, and Jonya, like, okay, I'm old enough to remember that Jonya was a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
And not even a good road at that.
It's Coral.
Yeah, Coral Road and just shitty. Now it's like this 5-lane monstrosity of road.
Yeah.
I feel like it's too big,
Yeah.
but that's not for me to determine. Yeah, I would do if I can wheelie. I would wheelie the whole strip
On a Coral Road.
on the Coral Road. No, on this current road.
Okay.
Life back then, dude. It's not what it used to be, for sure.
Well, I mean, the kids don't understand too. Like driving on Coral Road is like completely different and dangerous. Like you remember like sometimes I would purposely like spin on them because
Yeah.
you're really slick.
Yeah, you spin whether it's wet or
Yeah.
it's dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember doing that on purpose because it was kind of fun. Like you would but then you'd spin a little bit too much and hit something.
Not from experience. That's not an
Yeah.
experience story.
That was from my friend's experience. No.
Yeah, dude. One of my friends said I used to be. Punishment was going inside.
Yeah.
That was punishment. I wanted to spend outside so much that when you get home, the first thing you do is take off your bag, take off your shirt, keep your pants on, and
Split.
split. Go outside. Mom, go outside.
I think nowadays if you want to punish your kid, you tell them to go outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go outside and do something. Ugh.
But yeah, like my grandfather was he was a farmer, and we used to like have to help raise the pigs, and like feed pigs. And,
I'm a central boy.
yeah, me too, but I remember
I'm
like
the farming type.
I remember when we would kill. There's like stages, right? When you would kill a pig when you're like younger, like you would start off like holding the bucket.
Yeah, I never killed a pig myself, so I don't know. I have experienced people killing pigs. I was actually had a small traumatic experience watching a pig die when they slit the throat and the pig was still yelling, and the
Sounds human,
just
yeah.
the cow, and it's like I was like, oh my god, what is that? And then it just But I think they figured out more humane ways to kill a pig.
I think they still do that, man.
They still do that way?
Yeah.
That's still the method? Oh, man.
Or they do like the knife to the heart.
Yeah. I've seen the knife to the heart.
I've seen the throat one. That's what I grew up with.
Where they put them on the stand?
Yeah.
Tied up.
Tie them to the stand and you slit the throat. Oh,
or you
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, poor thing.
And so, yeah, I kind of grew up with that. I mean, the whole bucket thing was like, here, hold this. Okay, stay here. And then it was like, like you don't expect what's going to happen. Then it happens. And I think I must have been like 7 or 8. And then I don't know how this all like was normalized, but yeah, man, that's part of like whenever we have a fiesta, that's what we would do. And it's weird because I'm not, people wouldn't think that from me. They think I am a really inside person. I'm not the type to, I'm not the guy outside, doing yard work all the time. That's not me. But how I grew up was completely different. I mean, granted, I think what happened was because I was back and forth from the States to Guam so much, like I think my mom in particular, she really wanted to make sure that I grew up knowing like how to do stuff. My grandfather, like I said, was he's a farmer, so she wanted to make sure that I experienced that.
Right.
At the time, I remember hating it so much. Like man, this is this is bullshit. I want to like go ride my bike and stuff.
Yeah.
But I am really thankful, that I went through that because I understood, a lot of what goes into farming and raising animals and stuff. But yeah, because I think that most people don't know that I'm Chamorro. They're like, especially because my last name, my dad's from Saipan, so.
What kind of last name is Bermudes, though? Where would you find Bermudes?
You find Bermudes in
the triangle
up in Saipan.
Is that a bad joke? That was a bad.
Yeah, I get that so much. Or I get the Beach Boys song, the Kokomo song.
Bermuda.
Yeah. That was like my entire childhood. Yeah, but it's cool,
It's Saipan though.
Yeah, the name is my the name is from my dad's side, my grandma on my dad's side. She's like Conception Bermudes. I mean
but what is the origin of Bermudes? At least like where the family's from, where they're migrants. How there's a lot of Germans and Tinian and Saipan and stuff like that. I mean, you got the Hofschneiders now, right?
Yeah.
So
see, it's Super Chamorro family with German last name.
Right.
That's cool.
Super Chamorro, so it's
just I think Saipan's probably
right
where it comes from. But
well, I mean, you are right. You wouldn't strike yourself. People wouldn't strike you as being Chamorro right off the bat. So there must be some recessive gene that you're picking up, right? Because me, I look Filipino for sure.
Same.
For sure. I mean, I think I even look Japanese and Thai and Korean and pretty much every Asian country wherever there's dark Asians at. Yeah, I look brown like Asians. That. Yeah. And it's funny, in the States I look Mexican, Puerto Rican. When I had long hair, people thought I was Hawaiian and Alaskan. I mean, Native American. Yeah, and Alaskan. Yep. Or Inuit, yeah.
I've been, growing up in the States, I've been called every slur imaginable.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Guam, when I was younger, I got called, the Caucasian slurs, because I wasn't, I'd moved back and I was like really
howly, white boy,
howly, cracker.
Right. You don't look white though.
I don't, but I think to my cousins, because I wasn't out in the sun all day, and I came back really white. So,
but you grew up here. Did you grow up in the States a little bit?
Kind of like back and forth.
Okay. So were you that cousin from the States? Like, it's Johnny from the States.
I would never. My cousins would say that, but I would never say that because I know I have a different experience. Like Guam to me was like the ultimate destination. So we always grew up like it was always the goal. Like
military family.
Yeah,
traveling a lot.
Like man, being in the military is like to us. Like my dad would be like, man, this bullshit's gonna be over soon. We're gonna go home.
Yeah,
we're gonna be back home with our people. Guam.
Sure.
So it was almost like this place, and we'd spend a year here. But like I probably moved here maybe like 6 times when I was growing up.
Okay.
Like spent a year here, then a year in the States, and back and forth.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, man, to us, this place was like, it's weird because I think San Diego in a lot of ways is that for kids here. You know, it's like their destination.
For sure.
Because, you know, there are people from here, but it's like in the States, quotation mark, you know.
Right.
But no, man, like, I have a different perspective. To me, like, this is my goal, you know, it's my goal to be here. People don't understand that because I honestly feel that I'm going to sound like a hater here, but
It's okay, bro. There's a lot. There's a lot of hate to go around.
I think the people that, you know, really look down on Guam haven't traveled enough, you know.
Look down on Guam. People who live in the States look down on Guam, or
Like-
people here look down on Guam.
Like if you're Chamorro and like you have this like really optimistic view of living in the States, you know, or living in San Diego, living in Seattle, wherever you want to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that because, you know, I understand that bug that you want to go out there and travel and make your mark, right? Or just go out there and make it.
Just to believe that there's nothing here,
or
like look down.
like to believe that like elsewhere is going to give you a better life, you know,
Right.
or that this is a place you need to escape from. I think that's
Better life is relative, right?
yeah. Nate Titano, he's the guy. He said something that was very on the nose. He would say, someone told him, he's a drummer. He's in LA.
Okay.
I don't know if you know him, but
I think we've had a couple of IG DMs to each other, just like,
Oh, yeah,
you know, he's like, he has really good videos, drumming videos,
yes,
right?
yes.
He
Bison Wars is
he actually has really good drumming videos.
He was saying before he went to Los Angeles Music, whatever the name of the school is, LACMA, I forget the name of the school, but before he left, one of his close friends, I don't really know him that well, so he's like an acquaintance, but
Okay.
I just remember him because before he left, his friend would come up to him and say, "Oh, you know, you're off to Los Angeles now to bigger and better things," you know, and you know, like really nonchalantly. And then Nate was very quick to say, "No. He'd say, it's not bigger. I'm up to see bigger things, maybe, but the better things are always home, or always here."
Mm-hmm.
You know, that really struck a chord with me because I think that it's my personal opinion that people who are really gung-ho about, you know, that this is a place they need to escape from,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they need to go out and see, because they won't have an appreciation for this place until they see everything that we're not yet. You know, they need to go out there and see all the franchises and see all the things that Americans find kind of basic, you know, like all the franchises and stuff. Like if I'm living in the States, I don't want to go to these franchises. You know, I don't want to go to all these places that we romanticize or feel like are the best restaurants. It's crazy. Like people always talk about, what franchise do we want to come to Guam next? And I'm always like,
Yeah.
none, dude.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
like-
Me neither. I'm against it too.
most of it's trash, you know,
Yeah.
like not to be a dickhead. But
Yeah. I was over Olive Garden like years ago.
the only
Years ago.
time
I think the last time I ate Olive Garden before I
Mhm.
came here was when I was in college, I think.
yeah,
2010. It's been over at least 8 years, man. And I went there for a family thing, but that's besides the point.
I mean, it's cool to have new stuff here. Excuse me. It's great to have new stuff and to be excited. I'm not going to hate on that too much, but what you got to realize is
Hate away, John.
all
Dude, it's okay. That's the thing.
I would give up.
The thing is that we are allowed to judge what is coming here because it affects people.
Right.
You know, and there's some people who are super talented cooks who would never get an opportunity to open up their own restaurant because there's people would rather go to an Applebee's
Right.
or
right,
Chili's or Ruby Tuesdays
right.
and all the other franchises that are here that are making their way here. Yeah, there's a lot of talented people. It just takes out from local business and
Mhm.
the money. This is what I learned from one of my friends who's actually on the podcast, Kenneth Hun. If you
Mhm.
get a chance to listen to that podcast because this guy is one smart motherfucker.
Right.
And his view on, economics like really opened my eyes.
Right.
And just the fact that the money is leaving here, part of that, it's some of it's going to be recycled here through the workers who live here.
Right.
But for the most part, a lot of that money is going to leave Guam. I mean, that's why Uber is such a bad place for a lot of cities.
Right.
Because that money's not going to stay in the city. And he gave the example of New York taxi drivers. Right? Mm-hmm. They're losing out and there's a lot of New York taxi drivers who are becoming Uber drivers because it's better. Yeah, it's better money, but and the whole like grand scheme of things, the money is ultimately leaving the city.
Right.
And the people who live and work every day are losing out because something else from outside came in. That's why I love Stroll Guam.
Right.
I mean, not just because they're a sponsor of the podcast, but it's started by a local guy. Mm-hmm. All the money is going to stay here. Better than having a Uber or Lyft come here. We don't want that here. We want to take things that are out there, be able to scale it down and make it usable and workable here. And that's what I feel Stroll Guam is. And it's an incredible service. Mm-hmm. If you haven't taken it or even tried it, you need to, because these are our own people, who are looking for a different kind of opportunity, whether it be extra money or this is their full-time job. All they do is drive.
Right.
Right.
It's another gig economy type job.
So hate away, John. We don't want more franchises. We want more local businesses here.
I was thinking about what to say that wouldn't, because when you're in branding or you're in the work I do, right? There's businesses that could still do work with, so you don't want to really put down anything specifically. But
yeah, that's true.
I guess
you don't have to name names.
Well, I guess what I wanted to say is that I would trade in 1,000 Starbucks for one Pica's Cafe in Boston. I was just and honestly, I don't mind Starbucks. It's pretty good, but people, as soon as they leave, that's one of the first things they do. It's the destination.
Yeah, it's we gotta go to Starbucks. Yeah. I gotta go get a mocha latte, no soy.
No hate on you guys, but we gotta realize that
yes, hate.
I mean,
it's a culture, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the true culture, culture of any place in here. Right? And yeah, of course. And they're the ones, look at Beats, right? Yeah, of course. It's all branding and marketing, and they're taking advantage of the market. But
yeah.
It's I don't think it's hate. I think it's preference.
Right.
But hate away.
Yeah, so I've noticed that more and more people are getting educated to the kind of work I do. To be honest, a lot of it is brand consultation. A good example is, when Pop Rocks released their single,
which by the way is really good. Unlikely Royalty. Yeah, real good song.
They brought me into that project to help them with the design stuff, but I ended up doing a lot of consultation as far as releasing, and basically what happens nowadays is when you release something, it's on multiple platforms. So you want to basically do graphics and copywriting for all the different platforms, And I think I ended up doing something for the single release. It was something close to 30 or 40 different graphics and, just helping them do it, because I think with a lot of the talent on Guam, there's so much talent, but musicians and artists aren't necessarily, branding or creative, experts, So luckily I wear a lot of hats. I do art and I do music, but my job is, as a identity designer is handling brands, For the most part, it is graphic design work, but I've done enough consultation on copywriting and release stuff where I was able to really help them out. And for me, I guess because I'm really nerdy, I really like releases.
Okay, I'm nerdy too.
I was just so happy I could help them, because it's I remember being on the other end of it when I was young and I started in music. I didn't know anything, and we would just release stuff out of our trunk of our car and stuff, and just realizing that I could take a skill that I learned in advertising and help my friends, like do cool stuff, and even with you, because, um, I know you've already said this, but, you and I are working on your identity,
Mhm.
and
Which I'm still trying to find. Haven't found myself yet.
so, I mean, what it is basically like you have an idea or a dream for a company. And so you're trying to find a way to communicate this to the right people. And also what you want to communicate and who you want to communicate to is really important. And a lot of times when people see a designer, they basically just see a hand, a hand to that they will tell to, create something for them. But like if you really know what you're doing and you're really passionate about it, then you will go to great lengths to figure out what will work for, a specific brand. So you and I have been having a lot of conversations about this, about what's going to work for you and where you want to take it. And I would use you as a really good example for like what you want out of a client. Like you really want a client who is going to listen, is open to ideas, and will help you. Like, I really like to make cool stuff, and I know that's a very generic term, but I really feel like everyone I'm working with, I'm lucky because I get to make cool stuff for people I choose to work with, and not everyone can do that,
Right.
But yeah, I've been really fortunate. So
You're making it work for you.
yeah, I mean, it was scary because, when you're doing this, there's no guarantee of, $1 tomorrow,
Right.
but
So how does now being here for sort of a long term change things for you?
I'm honestly a little bit more relaxed than before. When I was traveling, it's like, okay, I need to collect on this bill because I need to pay for a flight or I need to pay for Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like rent. It's kind of the same thing as rent, but it's like, I mean, it is rent basically, but it's also at a accelerated pace sometimes because like sometimes you need to pay first. The earlier you can pay for things, the cheaper it's going to be. So sometimes you wind up paying for, like, to give an example, I paid for like 2 months worth of Airbnb prior to going to Germany, and it's kind of like, okay, I mean, that's great, but you don't necessarily have those 2 months, to spare sometimes because, it's feast and famine. Sometimes you don't have enough runway for 2 months. You have enough runway for 1 month. So you're trying to figure out, what you can collect right away. And to be honest with you, sometimes when you're not physically there, it does get difficult to collect for certain clients because if you're not there to remind them, like, hey, pay me, if you're not physically there, sometimes emails aren't going to do it. Like you can send them a million emails.
For sure.
Yeah.
People are less accountable these days.
Not necessarily that, but I think it's more like,
Oh yes. Yes.
What do they say?
Can't count on people these days.
Out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah. I mean, now you don't even have to. You don't have to answer a call. Just message me. Like, why are we gonna talk? What are you gonna ask me?
Right.
You know, what are you gonna ask me that you couldn't text me about? And I'm gonna get to it when I can. That's the culture today.
I think it depends, right? Depends on age, right? Sometimes you work with older people who, when you message them too much, they'll be like, why don't you just call because it's going to be so much faster. I actually believe that calling is more efficient. If you need a decision on more than 3 things, then I think.
But how many people actually check voicemail these days?
Nobody does.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I like to set up, like, especially when you're doing it abroad, you really need to set up phone time.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes because sometimes the time zones don't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, I have difficulty because some of my clients on the East Coast of America, the time is so far apart. The time difference is so huge that it's sometimes difficult for me to communicate with them early in the morning. And this client likes to call too. So
yeah, it's like required of you to wake up super early to do what you need to do.
Yeah, or
just to get them at a decent time. Because when it's like 8 o'clock here, it's like 5 o'clock p.m. there.
Right.
So,
I mean, I don't I try not to complain too much because I think I've been really lucky. But yeah, I mean, there's things like that that are obviously a pain in the ass, but it's part of the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's sometimes when you were calling me when I was in Boston, and it's like, oh shoot, I'm either just waking up or about to sleep, and it's like, oh man, sorry, I scheduled this, and I know I should be. I just sometimes will get the time wrong or the date wrong. Sometimes, like there's one time where you called me, and I like bought a bike, and I was like riding this bike home, like a not a motorcycle but an actual bicycle, and I was just like, oh man, let me call you back because I'm trying not to die right now. I haven't ridden a bike in like 20 years, and like I was trying to remember how to ride it, and then I had to go fill it up.
You never forget how to ride a bike.
Man, but I really remember that bike ride though. It was like, I felt like Boston became a different place when I got a bike.
Dude, I love Boston.
Yeah,
I've been there a couple times, and dude, it's an absolute. I wonder why. I was like, why didn't I go to even try to go to school here? Even probably the winters would kill me, but the time that I went was just absolutely beautiful. I like how condensed the whole city is. It's like everything squeezed into like a small peninsula.
It's like San Francisco, but like not as many hills. Like,
yeah,
or no hills. Period. Actually,
yeah. The way one of a Bostonian described it to me was, it's like they gave a kid a crayon to draw the streets of Boston. They basically, that's how Boston's roads were kind of like
it's nuts.
Drawn, and it's all over the place. They still uses cobblestone roads in some areas.
It was designed for horse and carriage. That's why a lot of the streets are weird.
Yeah,
and there are parts where you can't use Google Maps or Maps period, because there's a specific part of Boston that's like underground, but also there are like 5 layers, so the GPS will read it incorrectly. So there's certain parts of Boston where if you don't know your way around, you're gonna get lost because GPS just gets thrown off by the amount of streets like above you. It's mostly inside the city, like where 93 meets I forget the name of the road, but there's a specific part when I was driving around with my roommate Doug where we'd have to remember where the exit was, because it always read the GPS will always tell you the road above you, and so you're like looking for a road that's not there,
right?
But yeah, Boston's roads are super crazy. They're like a crayon drawing. You're right. But it's super easy to get around. It's a small city, and
and you can walk.
You can walk I could walk from my apartment to the heart of the city in like an hour.
And
on foot.
There was like there's hundreds of schools there, different kinds of schools there, a few major universities there. And pretty awesome place, dude. I didn't realize the time. Gotta cut out of here, bro. Let's do this again though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You'll be here a while though, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you planning on doing any nomadic trips anytime soon?
Probably not for a while. I mean, part of it is that like I wanted to get enough content for social media for different places, and I got a few months worth of stuff, just different sketches in different locations. But yeah, I ended up doing a lot more travel. So, I mean, if you guys want to find me on...
Yeah, tell people how they can find you on social media and stuff.
Okay, so for the travel stuff is on my personal Instagram. That's Dillp671, DILLP671. My branding and design work is on the agency Instagram. That's Ladron, Ladron, creative. And I have a bunch of other smaller projects, but I mean, those are the 2 main ones. And hopefully you'll see some of the design stuff on the Master Random podcast and Patreon really soon, I hope. But yeah, I love the work I do, and I've been able to travel. I've been really fortunate. Now I'm back home and I'm still doing the same stuff. It's just now I get to do it from the comfort of my village.
Yeah, tell Doug I miss shoot. You guys need to bring that back, honestly. That was a really good service. I mean, just keeping us up to date of what things are going on, because before I used to just refer people to shoot. I'm like, just go to shoot 3 O's and then I mean, just go to it. It's easy. We download the app. We can figure out. You guys need to bring that back, man.
Yeah, I loved working on it. It was great.
Yeah.
But maybe a little ahead of its time, I think.
Still time.
Yeah.
Still time to rekindle that fire. But John,
thank you so much.
yeah, thank you, bro. Good to sit down and talk to you. It's been 2 years. I mean, we saw each other in between and we've talked, but
Yeah.
actually on the podcast. All right. So
Yeah, man.
we'll
Anytime.
definitely do this again.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. You got everything down? You want to promote or push out and stuff like that? Projects you're a part of?
Let's see what's going on right now. Nothing I can really talk about. Got a couple things
Got a
in
couple secrets.
Yeah, I got a couple things in Japan. Hopefully it will happen. Ton of stuff locally. Most of it with Upshift Entertainment.
Okay. Tom Akigama.
Tom Akigami.
Or Agami. Sorry, Tom.
And that's all I can. I got a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other clients I'm working with, but it's still kind of under wraps. I don't know if I can talk about certain things.
It's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, for the most part,
Staying busy.
yeah.
Staying alive.
Yeah, check me out at lodroncreative.com, LODRON. And yeah, and then, I mean, I'm always doing painting and music stuff. And I mean, you'll see that on the IG, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate the time, and it's always fun talking to you, bro.
Hell yeah, bro. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you, Matt.
listening. Matty B. Yes. Matty B here. B in spirit, but he's taking care of his brand new baby little girl.
Oh, nice.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I've yet to go meet her.
You got to.
Yeah, he sends me. He sends some pictures, and I always adore babies with a lot of hair. My 2 younger sisters didn't have a lot of hair when they were younger. I myself was a hairy little monster, and I believe Matt had a lot of hair when I think you had a lot of hair when you were a baby. But that baby has a lot of hair. Very beautiful.
He's got the mannish beard. Jealous of that. I got the Asian beard.
Yeah, dude, me too. I got the chew on foo beard here.
He's got the guy cutting down trees.
Yeah. When he's 30 is gonna be a full grown master blaster.
That's a lumberjack.
It'll be a matter bladder.
Yeah.
Matter blaster beard.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. I had fun. Hope you enjoyed listening to Mr. John Bermudes on Master Random Peace.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I'd like to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Dimension Systems, providing the best computer and IT solutions on the island since 1987, and to our longest running sponsor, Guam. Use the code word RANDOM19, RANDOM19, and get $10 off your next ride. Go to the Google Play Store, your Apple App Store, and download that shit. And don't forget to support us on Patreon. Whatever you like to support us. I got something going. I'm still working on it. It's when you sort of wear many hats of something that you're doing, it kind of takes a little bit longer for you to produce an end product. But I'm working on it. Believe me. And if you're listening to this on iTunes, don't forget to give the podcast a rating. Whether it's 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. 5 stars is always preferred. And always thank you for being the baddest listeners on this planet. Yes.